Hi, it's Alicia from the Pretty Brown Eyed Reader. I am coming today with my April wrap up. April being National Poetry Month, I read a few poetry collections. One of those was this book here, and that is Poetry of Haitian Independence. And I actually featured a poem and talked a little bit about the collection in a video, so I will link that below. This was another collection that I read, and that is Dear Ancestors, and that's by C.P. Patrick. I also featured a poem from this collection, and I will link that video below. This is another collection that I read, and it is an arc of a poetry collection called Brenda by Nate Marshall. I had previously read one of Nate Marshall's books, probably about a couple years ago, so I was very familiar with the poets. And this collection does not disappoint. I think the publication date is in August. Great, just full of poems that have a hip hop flavor to them, but also very classical in paying homage to like Langston Hughes. So the title, Birmingham, uh, anybody that's pretty familiar with Black culture know that we tend to use that word. I'm going to do something, like I am going to do something. So I thought it was very interesting. He even gives the definition of finna in it, and then several poems have the word throughout it. So when it comes out, definitely give it a chance if you're a lover of poetry. My first novel of the month was this one, and that is a Brenda Jackson romance novel, and it's called Tonight and Forever. Um, I was just having a day where I felt like I needed to smile, and romances do that for me. The story is about a doctor who winds up meeting a divorcee who's had a rough time with her first husband, and the doctor also is a widow because his wife died shortly after they got married. His first wife did. And so just two people that have already been married trying to find love, almost unintentionally find each other. And so with Brenda Jackson, she gives you a good story. You love the romance, and you're always cheering for the couple. So it was just good. I think I read it in like a day, but it did what I exactly needed it to do, and that was to bring a smile to my face. Well Read Black Girl by Gloria Edim. Sorry, Gloria Edim. Um, was my next read, and this is an anthology of different writers coming together to answer the question of when did you first see yourself in literature? And it's a bookworm's dream to read all these different writers and what inspired them. You get recommendations for books. She even has a list, it's its own canon of different writers that have influenced Black women as well as Black women writers. And so anyone that is a fan of anthologies, a fan of Black women writers, this is a book for you. And just be prepared to expand your TBR beyond what you can think of. I was going through, I was like, ooh, am I ever going to get to read all these amazing authors that are discussed in this book? I don't know. All I have is can just try and see what happens. The next thing I read, I won't show you the book because it's just a library bind up of what I read, and that is The Letter from the Birmingham Jail by Martin Luther King Jr. And it's something that I had always put on my TBR that I was gonna read it, and I checked it out, not knowing from the library that that would be one of the few library books that I would have to read. So it's very short. I think it was like maybe 40 pages, but it's amazing the things that Dr. King talked about all those years ago when he was locked up in the Birmingham jail. They are still so relevant today. And I just wrote so many quotes, and I saw so many quotes that people have misrepresented that he said, and it's just always good to go back to the source material and just not allow what other people say about something to be formed your opinion. Next book up is Loving Donovan by Bernice L. McFadden. When I finished this one, I just had to sit with it for a moment. The book deals with um, family histories that lead a person to who they are. So, what happens when a person that has had generations of poor relationships in their lineage hooks up with someone that has also had poor relationships? Even though you root for them to be together, all of that past stuff does come into play. It's like I could see myself in the characters. Um, Campbell is the female lead, and Donovan the title character. They hook up. They both bring all this generational hurt, all these things together into their trying to make a relationship work. And I'm not gonna give it away, but just reading it, I just had to just hold the book. I was like, uh, why can't it just all be a fairy tale? But it's not a fairy tale. So that I don't think I've ever read anything bad by Bernie Selman fan anyway. But I've had that book. I got it at the thrift shop, and I'm mad at myself for not going ahead and reading it. But I read that one, and shortly after I read it, Miss McFadden, she had tweeted something about a character that she had written that used collage. Her life work was artwork, and it was through collages. And I was like, I know that character. And I was like, I tweeted back that I had just read it. The next book I read was Butterfly 2 by Ashley Antoinette. I won't show you what it's on my Kindle because it's just an arc of it. I was contacted by the publisher to do a review of the book, and I really liked the first one, so I gladly accepted reading the second one. Ashley Antoinette does not disappoint, and it is a continuation of the spinoff from the Ethics series, and it follows the main character Morgan Atkins, and as she's trying to figure out what her romantic life should be. There's one character that I am rooting for, and the tension for her to be with that character, it really just makes me yell at the pages. That's how good the author is at making you feel like you're invested in these people's lives, which I am at this point. So there is going to be a book 3, a Butterfly 3. So I will be here for it, and I am still rooting for my dude. If you get a chance to check out the Butterfly series, do that. The last book I read for the month was this wonderful classic here, The Color Purple by Alice Walker. I have been participating with Bookstagrammer, a special count of doubles. Every month she does a live chat of books that are on the Zora canon, and I haven't followed people that are actually going through this canon that the Zora magazine put out, but I do enjoy her discussion, so I've been following those. And so for April, she chose The Color Purple, and I had a copy of it on my Kindle because I got it whenever it was on sale one time. And Alice Walker, being a Georgia girl, can't get enough of reading her stuff. And this was a reread. Before, I don't think I had ever had a foreword written by Alice Walker in it. To read her words or what she intended for The Color Purple to be was fascinating. And so I read it from the eyes of what Alice Walker intended for the novel to be, and that is to be, a discussion of God versus God's image. And I think every time that I have read it before or talked with someone about it, it's always been about the relationships and not really looking at the God versus God image. I mean, God plays a part, maybe in the discussions I've had a part before, but never that being the sole focus. And so during the discussion, we brought that up, and that was very interesting to read it as an older adult, because when I read it, of course, first time when I was probably still in high school, again in college, I think one more time since then, and now this. this time, and each time you get more. And I just never paid attention to that God concept. I've always, really admired the way she did the epistolary style of writing, because very few authors can really do that in a good way, and she does. I think I've been so engrossed in that and not really paying attention to that God versus God image. And then also this time I paid more attention to mental illness being portrayed. And I was like, man, it's just like a different layer every time you reread these classic works of literature. So I hope everyone else had a good reading month. I understand if you didn't, with everything that's going on, it can be a little doting to try and to read. But for me, reading has been an escape, and I actually feel like I had more time to digest some of the books that I don't think I definitely wouldn't have been able to get all this done if life was full speed ahead like it was prior to being to sheltering in place. Thanks for watching and have a great day.